The city was awarded approximately $146 million in American Rescue Plan Act recovery funds. Those funds have been and continue to make a big impact in the community. My name's Tom Matthews, and on this episode on The Buzz, I'll be talking to the city manager about the ARPA at Work campaign, which details exactly how these dollars are making an impact in the city. All right, Mr. Manager, American Rescue Plan recovery funds, ARPA. It's been a big topic of conversation. City received about $146 million of ARPA funds. When does all of the money, all of the funding need to be allocated, need to be spent by?
Yeah, so the $146 million needs to be contracted by the end of this calendar year, December 31st, 2024. Agencies, organizations, and even the municipality, we have until 2026, the end of 2026, to actually spend the dollars. So we have to get everything contracted and encumbered by the end of this calendar year, and then we have 2 more years to spend the rest of the dollars.
What are some of the examples of categories that have received ARPA funding?
A large number of them, because again, we wanted to make sure that we address many different components in the community. Here, my list here, from initially seed funding, $15 million to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, first-time home ownership development. We've had community-based initiatives related to fuel assistance, utility assistance, lead abatement programs, Worcester Jobs Fund, from small business technical assistance to cultural organization grants to mental health support, public assets and infrastructure. So you hear that and you see that the dollars have been utilized in so many different fronts to address a lot of the needs and the importance of what we need here in this community.
It's a wide variety of projects that receive funding. And speaking of projects, we're here at Tacoma Street Playground. There's a lot going on here. This is a project that received ARPA funding?
Yeah, so we put a lot of funding in some of our parks in our community. This is an area in a neighborhood that we used to have a park here. There was a pool here, and unfortunately, we needed to make better reservations. We had to shut it down. But now we have the opportunity to spend over $5 million in this project that we now can be able to create a new space for this community and here in District 1 for the Grapeville Valley community as well to enjoy a park, splash pad as well. So these is where the dollars have been going to, again, impact the community overall.
So folks in the community, they're wondering how the dollars are being spent, how they've been allocated. How can they find out about ARPA projects?
Yeah, so we try to communicate that as much as possible. We've provided so many reports to the council on a quarterly basis to give them updates on where we're at, what the money's being spent. We have a dashboard on the website. We have a website on the worcesterma.gov website that lists everything that's related to ARPA allocations. And so, we're trying to do as much as we can to communicate to people what's happening around ARPA and where these dollars are going to.
The city is going to be relaunching its ARPA at Work campaign. Can you tell us what this campaign is about?
The campaign is to provide as much information as possible to the public. We want to get testimonials, people's perspectives on how these dollars have been at work. There's been a lot of different areas where the dollars have gone to, and we've talked about that earlier. So we want people's stories to be out there. We want the community stories to be out there, and we want people to know where these dollars have gone.
And you mentioned a couple of different ways that the dollars have been spent: utility assistance, rental assistance. But can you talk about some of the projects like Curtis Street Apartments and some of the other projects?
Yeah, there's been so many different projects, from housing development work in the city that's increasing affordability of units there, from the Boys Club down on Lincoln Street, receiving some dollars there as well for elderly housing under 60% AMI, to the parks, to community-based organizations who are doing job training programming, who are also programming around mental health, crisis response. We've had hundreds and hundreds of agencies and organizations who receive funding. So even just recently, we put out $1.5 million to youth work for youth employment in the city. So it's giving a little bit more in different areas, and sometimes we've had to be a little bit more flexible with these dollars. And that's why the council and the mayor have been very supportive of giving us the flexibility to shift those dollars, because those needs have changed since ARPA came out. And so we want to be able to be flexible and provide those funding when we need it to.
That's a key point, the flexibility. So you just mentioned $1.5 million allocation to youth employment opportunities. that came as a result of a cut at the state level funding YouthWorks. And how did you make the $1.5 million allocation happen?
There has been times where the federal government or state has had some challenges, and we've had to kind of figure out how do we navigate that. That happened with the SNAP program, where we had to be able to put some dollars into food insecurity in our city because that was reduced as well. So we've had to be flexible and nimble in that. And what we tend to do is we look at the current allocations of funding, whether it's related to some projects, and we see, okay, what's realistically, how can we reduce that allocation, shift some dollars within the budget so that we can give the opportunity to fund these types of needs. So again, we're always looking and managing the ARPA budget as best as possible to make sure that we have that flexibility.
All right, so folks that want to find more information about ARPA in general, ARPA at work, how can they do so?
Yeah, I said go to the Worcester website, worcesterma.gov. We'll also be communicating this to the council as much as possible. Pay attention to our social media channels as well, where we're going to be providing a lot of different kind of perspectives and stories around ARPA at work.
All right, thank you, Mr. Manager, for giving us an ARPA update, and thank you for tuning in. As always, make sure to go give us a follow on all of our social media channels and head on over to worcesterma.gov to find out everything else that's happening in the city.